Coach, thank you for joining me on this SimpleCoach Coach interview. Do appreciate you taking the time. You are certainly busy as the head men's soccer coach, and now the senior deputy athletic director, which is a mouthful, but that means that I fully expect free gear to come my way because you now have the key to the closet that has all the tchotchkes.
No doubt. I appreciate you having me. I missed you. I haven't got to talk to you in a while, so I was waiting.
It has been, hasn't it?
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, the title is assistant to the regional manager. You know, that's the joke I use around here. You know,
yeah.
Dwight Schrute
the assistant
from the office.
to the assistant regional. I get the coffee and I type out letters. That's what I do.
That's it.
That's awesome. I'm super excited for you. I think that's great. I love to see guys' careers, coaches' careers progress in ways that you might never fully anticipate. So I'm just really excited for you.
Thank you. I
Not the
appreciate
school. As I joked earlier, I hope you do terribly at your job and all the teams start to lose. But, I mean, yes. No, that's in jest, people. That's in jest. I will say, I could not bring myself to wearing a John Carroll hat. Like, before all these things, I go through my routine. Okay, how am I going to manage? And as you know, I have John Carroll hats, plural, compliments from you, golf balls that are lost somewhere. I think they're in a pond, and one, yeah, and one's like in the woods somewhere. I just never tracked down. And one of them is selecting the hat I am going to wear, and so I usually wear a John Carroll hat, but I just could not. I was terrible. I feel so lesser because of it that I wasn't able to put on that hat. So as you can see, go Raiders. Anyhow, since it has been a while, Coach, a lot's gone on in your world. I mean, professionally, obviously, but from a soccer perspective, the move from the OAC to the NCAC. So, but I'm going to start it off the same way because I think it's apropos. How do you think the season went because of all of this?
Sure. You know, we're not happy with how the season went, but I don't think that qualifies it as not being successful either. You know, we were dealing with some things here internally that I think is not an excuse, but, you know, just some stuff in terms of being a very young roster. You know, 37 of our 47 guys were freshmen and sophomores, and that's a really young team. And yeah,
for real?
And
holy mackerel!
Yes, and then the 10 guys who were not were kind of in new roles themselves. You know, where basically it was kind of a new team from top to bottom, and we signed up for that. That's not an excuse. It's just kind of what happened with the recruiting and the extra COVID eligibility and the way things trickled down. Certainly, the move to the NCAC is not an easy one. We took that head on, and we knew it was going to be a challenge, like we talked about in our last interview. Yeah. So just a couple things like that. It's an uphill climb, but when I really reflected on it, especially our end-of-year meetings, whether it was with the team or individually, I was very proud of what we did this year. I think we covered a lot of ground. I think we had a lot of growth and things that we needed to figure out and, for lack of a better term, learn the hard way. And I don't know if I've been more excited to get back on the field in August than I've been in this offseason. I really think we have a lot of really talented young players here who got their feet wet and now kind of understand the landscape. Certainly, we have to continue to learn the NCAC and the ins and outs of all that. That's going to take some time. But I do think that the step backwards last year allows us to move forward a little more quickly than maybe I even anticipated.
I didn't realize you had 37 freshmen, sophomores.
Young team.
I didn't realize you graduated that many, or graduated, fell off the previous year. That troubles me because that means in like 2 years you might be a little bit unstoppable, and that bothers me. But that's not here nor there. Did you? You say you're not pleased. Were you? Was it just from a record standpoint, or was there something about the team where you're like, we fell? You think you, not you, but the team that it just fell short from where your expectation was, in spite of having such a young roster.
I think it's more the record. Obviously, we felt like we should have done a little bit better, and that's no one's fault but our own. But not making the playoffs is a tough pill to swallow. Going into that last week, had we won, and listen, I know trying to beat Denison on the last game of the year is not exactly a layup there, but we were in position that last week to, and if we were to win those two games, you're hosting a NCAC semifinal, and then you tie and lose, and now you're fifth place in the first team out, right? So, I'm very proud that we put ourselves in that position, to kind of control our own destiny from that regard. But disappointed that we didn't find a way to finish it off and get ourselves into that playoff. Because in our last interview, when you asked me what our goal was to make the top four in the NCAC, and I think we were right there. But I do think that that has created a little different hunger here in this offseason. Maybe if we did just squeak in and made it, maybe we think a little bit differently going into our spring season and off season in general. Yeah. But I can see a different look in the guys' eyes now that we didn't, and I think they're equally as excited as I am to get back on the field in the preseason in August.
Just creates a little bit of a chip on your shoulder now, right? That you might, if you got in, even just squeaking by, whatever that looked like you might not have that, right? And so maybe the level comes down a little bit when you think you're, okay, we did okay. It just changes that dynamic, I think.
Sure.
Is there anything that surprised you about the NCAC once you got into it? Was it harder than you thought it was going to be, or?
I knew it was going to be hard, and it was hard. I don't think, this is year 24 at Carroll. I'm smart enough to realize that it was going to be every bit as hard as I thought it was going to be. And, there's just stuff that you can't learn until you go do it. You don't know what it's like getting on a bus ride and going to Wabash for a Saturday game, or having to take a trip down to Springfield midweek, little longer bus ride, or, playing Denison at home in November rather than at home in September. Those are just different things that no matter what you try to do to prepare or get ahead, you kind of have to live it and experience it to get on the same page.
Yeah. Who do you think was the best soccer team you played? That's a loaded question, I know. Dartboard material for the teams that you don't pick?
It's really hard to pick. I mean, you have Kenyon, who was also super young, mega talented. They are going to be a force to be reckoned with going forward. Denison was the veteran team that, Cam Kiss, what a player, guys like that. That
kid is spectacular, isn't he?
Unbelievable. And these guys who have been there and done it, they have that experience and so on and so forth. Yeah. Then you had a team like DePaul that was just a gritty team, grinding team. They don't give you an inch on that field at any point, and battle tested, and they're willing to fight through anything. And here comes Worcester with an unbelievable year.
Unbelievable.
Coach Andy is literally not just a coach, but one of my favorite human beings on this planet Earth. Yeah. What a great guy! Just first class in everything he does. Was really happy to see them do really well. But I can go on and on. But it's hard to pick just one.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Coach Zedron at College of Worcester. I was so happy for him, and he ended up beating Mount too. I think he beat Mount. What? And I should be angry at him, but no, he is such the great guy. My conversations with him are always, they just always feel like there's meaning to them. It's not just sort of a generic conversation. I just really And what he does, I just think is fantastic there. All right, you open the season with a team that intrigues me, and because I haven't been able to get the coach on board, Edgewood. They're on my radar because they quietly do well, and I actually think they can play ball. And there's not a team. It's not a team that you would have suspected to be good, I guess. I don't know if that's the right way to say it. What are they like? What did you think of the game?
Very good. They big, athletic, strong, just very physically imposing. Like you said, they can play. They have a couple guys who are obviously very, very talented in the final third, and a couple great midfielders, back lines, big and strong. But they were very impressive. You know, that was a 1-0 game, and I think the goal we gave up there, we kind of shot ourselves in the foot. But they were the better team that day. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to take anything away from them. They were. That's a great way to start the season against a team like that, and start that learning process that we needed to get going.
Yeah. That's I'm intrigued by them. Like I said, I haven't been able to get him on the head coach on the channel, but I notice them. They're hard not to not notice. You know, like who's this team, and they've been good for a few years now, and it just sort of, I don't want to say out of the blue, because they put in the work, but it almost seems like, oh, here's a team that nobody's really paying attention to. So
sure.
We won't talk about your loss to Mount Union.
Thank you.
Hey, you know what? Like, how many of the stuff on the negative side of your balance sheet, so your losses and your ties, so 12 games total, right? So you were 7, 8, and 4. You have 12 of these games that 8 you lost, 4 you tied. How many of those do you attribute to you, not you personally, but your team? Like, hey, we screwed up. They weren't necessarily the better or what have you. And you don't have to go into specific teams, but, you know, like you mentioned against Edgewood, you shot yourselves in the foot. So whatever, like I'm assuming that there was some sort of play that you just sort of blew it, and that led to the goal, right? Self-inflicted wound. Yeah. How many of those 12 games do you think were self-inflicted? Like, again, not to take away from your opponent, but they just sort of pounced on something that you guys did that normally you shouldn't do, or just because you were young.
Yeah, you know, I would tell you the majority of that was self-inflicted, but I wouldn't qualify it as like we should have won or we should have tied either, right? For example, you know, we had 2 games where we did your prototypical young team no-show where, like, from the opening whistle, you could tell we weren't ready to play. And I take responsibility for that as the coach. Like, you try to navigate that as much as you can and avoid those kind of situations at all costs. But sometimes no matter what you do, they're still coming anyways. And those 2 games for us this year were DePaul and Carnegie Mellon. I mean, we didn't get off the bus, and that game was over kind of feeling, right? And like, even if we did show up and play the way we should have, I'm not saying that DePaul shouldn't have won the game or Carnegie Mellon for that matter. But if you're kind of taking those games, those 12, I would say a third of them, we probably should have had a better result if you're just using numbers and things go your way or you don't do that. But I'm not going to sit here and act like we should have won all 12 of those games. That's not the reality.
Yeah, I'm always curious about that, right? Because, like you said, sometimes you just play a better team. They are just better than you, and right? And it's just really hard to make. Even if you shoot yourself in the foot, they are still a lot better than you, and just that's the game, you know. But I'm always interested in those games, and that's why I look at teams that are kind of like almost there, where they only lost by a goal, or you know, they tied a game maybe they should have won. And I'm always curious as to what's that edge that would push them over the top, right? And so I find that really interesting. Especially, I will say one of the things, and I don't know if it was the NCAA or how, the teams that you added now played. I think yours is I'll just say one of the more interesting schedules I've looked at, right? Like you just play such a diverse number of teams in how they play. You play some hard-nosed teams. You play some teams that play, like literally put the ball on the deck and try to knock the ball around. And everything in between, I just think that's got to be super challenging to coach through, but it just makes for an interesting season as opposed to just playing kickball. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but
yeah, I think all of us around the country are trying to figure out how to schedule. I just got out of the NCAA meetings myself and the national committee at the headquarters in Indianapolis at the NCAA this week, and I'm on the committee and I still don't know what to do, and I'm in the room for those conversations, you know what I mean? And we all talk about it externally as colleagues and people in the industry. So, yeah, like you're trying to find a way to prepare your team and play, like you said, a diverse schedule that prepares you for playoff time. You're trying to figure out the MPI stuff where you can position yourself accordingly, to give yourself the best chance at making the national tournament if you were to win the AQ. So you want to talk about building the plane while it's in the air. Like we're all trying to figure it out here, program by program, conference by conference, and it's a daunting thing because it's very new and we're literally learning like as it happens.
Yeah. What are your thoughts? How do you see MPI working so far? Like, is it as you're trying to figure out? Are you liking it in principle? I don't know, principle in reality. Would you have preferred to go the old route of who are your regional teams and basically ranking your teams that way?
Yeah, I don't think it's any secret that people know I wasn't a fan of MPI, and I'm not. I don't want to go down I'm still
sure.
not. Like it's here. It's what we got to deal with, and we got to move forward, right? I like the transparency of it. I think that's great. I think people knowing where they stand and seeing the numbers and the algorithm and what have you gives people a level of comfort that nothing shady's happening. But I also believe that the human element that was before, where there was people discussing profiles and resumes of teams and what have you, I think that hurts a little bit because a computer telling you what to do doesn't mean it's right? So I don't think I'll ever be a fan of it completely, but I also am smart enough to understand that it's not going away. I need to figure out how to use it, and as do the rest of us, and we have to do our best moving forward.
What's your schedule look for next year? Is it similar? Is it just like now you're home away, or?
We're pretty much done. We lose a week of the regular season that we had compared to 24 and 25, excuse me. So I think we have 17 games, pretty similar in terms of, pretty tough teams on there and the conference stuff and what have you. But I don't really feel a conviction or a direction of where to go just yet of how to schedule in order to position yourself from the MPI standpoint where I did for 15 years straight in the old system. I knew exactly what I had to do, how to do it, how to plan for it. And I think it's going to take, us 4 or 5 years of data to really understand. Because by the way, the dials are probably changing again, right? Like that's something that's going to be revisited.
Did they say every 2 years you have a chance to? Is that the agreement?
Correct.
Or, I don't know. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. I go back to fundamentally. There's got to be a way to account for winning, and like winning. It doesn't matter who the other team is. Like I said, I think I've told you this before. Winning 17 games in a row, 15 games, going undefeated for 15 games, whatever that is hard to do under any circumstance. and that should be rewarded. And I don't think it's necessarily awarded now because it's, if you're not playing the right teams or the combination at the time of it doesn't help you. So that I think is my biggest beef. Aside from the lack of humanity in the scoring, in it all, right? Like, I like the talking part. Like, I want to hammer this out. I want to disagree with you because you know what? They're not I'd rather have another team that plays this way instead of that way. And anyhow.
Our sport is just so unique. It's like you said, it's hard to win. And let's be honest, it's probably been harder than ever to win at this level. And there's so many good teams, and D3 soccer continues to improve year in and year out. But, oh, by the way, here come the ties and the weird things, grass fields versus turf field on the road. Home. Like, there's so many factors that go into this thing that it is just a monster in itself. It's just no other way to say it. It's just very unique.
Yeah. Very true, very true. All right, so you have what? Mostly freshmen, sophomores, which will be sophomore, juniors. So 37. Mm-hmm. What does your incoming class look like?
Still working on it. I'm
really?
Very thankful.
Is this late?
Oh yeah.
Oh okay. You go till the summer?
Yeah, this is early for us, unfortunately. But no, I think that we're finally starting to level out. I think we have one more year, and then we'll get ourselves back to the pre-COVID, cycle of X amount of people in a class, and it's not
10, 10, 10, and you're just sort of going that way. Yeah.
Right. But we'll be really young again next year. Again, the freshmen and sophomores will now be sophomores and juniors, but we'll only have 2 seniors in the program this fall. So in theory, young again. So far, the incoming class we're really excited about. We have 5 commits and looking for probably 5 or 6 more. Mm-hmm. But I do finally feel the uncertainty of the recruiting cycle starting to go away like I felt these past couple of years where you're like, how many guys do I got to bring in? And trying to account for people, waiting on people to make decisions if they were coming back or not for their 5th year, and the max exodus that ended up happening once they did. So I finally feel like I'm getting back in that rhythm that I was before 2020 hit.
I think you in one of our conversations we talked about the portal and how you don't necessarily work the portal unless somebody or somebody who's come around that you've recruited before. Is that still the case, or do you?
Yeah. I haven't logged into the NCAA portal once since our season ended. Mm-hmm. I don't regret doing what we did before. I think everyone kind of had to be creative during that pandemic time, and there was certainly some great players that we got out of it. But I am a lot more interested in building culture. I'm a lot more interested in having guys here for the 4-year experience. I want to do it as a family. I want to do it in the brotherhood. I want to grow together, not just, the grass is greener kind of mentality that you see in D1 football where people want to leave or come every 2 seconds just because their situation either isn't what they want it to be or they think there is a better situation that they haven't experienced yet. So I've really leaned into the culture piece of this thing. And again, I'm never saying never. I'm not trying to act like if a great situation didn't, get put on my lap that I wouldn't take advantage of it. But I'm certainly not spending time in the portal or monitoring it by any means unless someone reaches out to us and there's some criteria that fits what we're looking for. But I'm not knocking those who do. I think everyone has their own way of doing it, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not something I prefer.
Yeah. There's a gentleman that I just saw. He's the athletic director at Gwynedd Mercy, which is I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's outside of Philly. I think he's the athletic director, come to find out. And he's been posting and talking about that very thing, how look, if you really want to be a part of a team and you want to be part of a program that sort of relies on you to go through your 4 years and helps build something, goes into depth about it. And he's like, then Division III is the place you want to go, because there are folks like you who, not to bust on the guys who going to transfer and move around, but like, you're just more interested. Let me take a young kid who's coming out of high school, work with them for 4 years and see what the potential is and where they can take it, both on the soccer field and off the field. I think I like that,
Sure. I mean, it kind of speaks to our community here at John Carroll in general.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it's a very tight-knit family kind of feel. Our alumni network, whether it's soccer or non-soccer, is very robust, and I think that there's a reason why it is that way, because of the community they came from while they were here, right? And I mean, I've been here 24 years, right? Like, that's not normal, and I don't know if many people are interested in doing something like that. But for me, this is home. I will never coach anywhere else. That's a guarantee. And I kind of am starting to lean that way when it comes to the recruiting pieces too, where I want people who are loyal and want to be here for the right reasons and want to be part of that family, whether it be men's soccer specific or, the community in general, the alumni network eventually. Like, that's all really important to me.
Yeah. That's well said. I am not a fan of you guys. I think I'd like to make that clear. I am not a fan of you guys, but I will say, like, even in my day, there was something about John Carroll that just sort of made it special. And, whether it was the Jesuit piece or what have you, where it's located, there is a very much a much stronger sense of community than in a lot of places, right? Where So,
if you don't mind, like the thing I would tell you there, just based on what you said just now, what really strikes me as I get older and I've been here longer is that John Carroll's a place where we care about everyone as a human being, not as a number or, lack of a better term, piece of meat, right?
Yes.
And the fact that people here care about your personal life, they care about your extracurriculars, they care very much about your academics. I don't care if you're a student athlete or not, but obviously as a coach, we care about what you do on the field, right? That's a pretty special thing in a climate of the NCAA where, people are just playing musical chairs to find the next best thing. And that's just not something I support. Again, I'm not hating on it. I understand why people do it, but that's not something I want to be involved in.
Well, I hate to say it, and like you said, maybe because I'm older or whatever, it ultimately ring hollow, right? What were your 4 years like? I went to 2 different schools, whatever it is. It's just something that's not as, tangible and that stays with you than, whereas if you treat the schools that you go to like a way station, like, what is this school going to give me? And if it doesn't give me enough, I'm leaving. Which I think ultimately, especially I think that's clear that you're seeing it at Division I, right? Both soccer and other sports. It's just, you're not giving me enough. Whatever that thing is, you're not giving me enough, I'm out. And it just doesn't compute with me, right? Like,
well, especially when you think about like relationship building, which is like what we do. It's getting so watered down because of the rules and how things are constructed. And I tell our guys all the time, like, some of the most impactful interactions I have with men's soccer players are after they graduate. Like, for example, like this just happened. Today's Friday. I mean, this was last Friday. I had a guy text me like, "Hey, coach, are you on campus?" And I was like, "Yeah, I am. What's up? Are you in town?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to be by in about a half hour." He came in the office just to tell me in person that his wife was pregnant. Like, that meant the world to me that he wanted to come and share that kind of news with me. And and I think that goes back to what I meant about as I get older and as our players graduate and they start their lives and their careers and their families and whatever. The fact that you're getting invited to the weddings and you're being included on those milestones,
special
in their life,
moments, yeah.
That doesn't happen unless you build that relationship while you're there in the 4 years that you're a student athlete, right?
Yeah. That's awesome. I got goosebumps from that story.
Thank you.
You know, that's pretty cool, right? Like, well, I'll just say, I think that speaks volumes of you, right? That somebody would want to tell you, deliver that news to you in person, right? Like, I think that's because if you weren't that type of person, you'd have been on a text chain, right? Like, hey, guess what? Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, hey, one of 50 people, that's awesome, right? Like, it just doesn't carry the same weight. But like I said, I think that just speaks volumes of you, which is why I hate your school. But I like you. Like, that's I'm conflicted. Back to the soccer. Like, what? I know this might not be the right way to frame it, but what do you need to fix for next year? Like, what? I mean, I hate to say, if you tell me they just need to mature as players, there's always got to be something that I think you're thinking in the back of your head, like, man, we have to figure out, our transition is terrible because they're not fat, whatever that is. But is there something along those lines where you're like, we have to address this in the spring or in preseason, because without it, we're going to lead to another, I mean, this in a good, not in a bad way, but 7, 8, and 4 season, and we're going to sort of stumble through.
Yeah, it kind of is the experience thing, but I'll take you a step further within it. It's game situation stuff that comes with the experience piece. That, understanding, hey, these are the variables of the equation. This is how we solve this problem. And our focus here this spring is going to be just on that. Now that they kind of have an idea of what to expect in those moments, now we have to kind of put them through those scenarios or simulations where they're making those right decisions. So I don't think it's anything like we're not good in 1v1 defending, or we can't score because we can't kick the ball in the goal in the box inside the 6. Like, I don't think it's anything like that. It's more taking these situations, not that they've experienced and succeeded and failed in. And now how do we take that to the next step of, okay, now that we've solved this problem, what's the next one? And what do you do in this scenario once you solve that one? So again, I'm not trying to duck the question or tap dance around it, but I do think it does kind of lean into that space where I don't think it's anything specific where we don't have the tools to do it. We just needed to get the experience and fail, because that's what taught us the most, right? And now how do we go not let that happen again and then take it a step further?
Yeah. That's fair. I didn't mean to take experience off the table, right? Or because that is an important fact, especially in the 4-year cycle. Like, that's a big deal. A freshman playing college soccer is much different than a senior playing college soccer, And so I totally get into that.
I'll give you an example. This might be more helpful. Like, our season ended early, right? Because we didn't play in the playoffs, and we wanted to use that time that we would have had together to try to be productive, because I believe when there's adversity or there's failure, there's opportunity, right? And what we did was we actually did a project where every player on the team had a partner, and every partner was assigned 4 goals that we gave up during the season, and they had to be the coach and actually do a film breakdown of why we gave up that goal. So again, we're talking about experience and scenarios and whatever, and then we all got in a room, and every tandem had to present one of those goals, and we all sat in the room and discussed it. And I think just that alone is different, because if I would have showed them last year's team make that mistake, I don't think they completely understood until they saw themselves make that mistake. So that's why I'm saying, like, the experience thing is not me ducking the question. It was, I'm on that screen, and they're talking about me up there, and I don't ever want to do that again or be part of this project ever again. And I hope that's the only time we ever have to do it. But I give our guys a lot of credit. They took it seriously. They had notes. They were prepared. They spoke with confidence when they got up there. They were not afraid to hold each other accountable. I'm not saying like call out and start yelling at somebody, but hey, like you can't step here in that play. You got to hold your ground or drop. And you talk about goosebumps. I kind of had those when we were having those meetings because I was like, man, these guys took this really seriously. Like they want to get better, and that's really exciting.
$1 million question for you. Did you record that by chance?
The meeting?
Yeah.
I did not. Yeah, I did not.
I would totally dig that. I would
Yeah.
totally dig that.
Yeah. It was. I tell you, it was really cool. It's a project none of us wanted to do, right? I certainly didn't want to be there, right?
Yeah. Like, hey, let's look at all of our mistakes.
Right? I always joke with the guys. I saw it live. I don't need to watch it again. But,
yeah.
But no, like I give them a lot of credit. Like I can't tell you how proud I am about how professional they've been. Because let's be honest, when adversity hits, you figure out people's true colors. It's easy to be cool when things are going well, and but who are you when the chips are down?
Easy. Yeah.
And these guys could have ducked it. They could have ran from it. They could have said, I don't want to do that. But they were all in, and I think that's a really positive sign of who they are as human beings, and that's most important.
Yeah, winning's great, but it does lend itself for things to be easy, right? Like you're just like, oh, we got this, and I think that's a terrible. In soccer, I think in more than other sports, like it's a very dangerous place to be if you are not always recommitting yourself to, hey, we still have to get better. We're not good, right? Like, because if you stop, you're going to get run over. I think I've seen that.
I have a quote on my wall I'm looking at over my computer, the relentless pursuit of better.
Yeah.
And that is something that Coach Polian taught me the day he got back to John Carroll. And it was so good that I literally called our graphics company. I said, I need a 4-foot quote on my sticker on my wall. Yeah. And I purposely put it right there. So I'm looking at it right now. Like that's how we live our lives over here at John Carroll.
You have to. Like I said, otherwise you just get run over because there are teams in the relentless pursuit of better that will just pass you by. Snapping your fingers, which you did. We did this exercise last time. It'll be the last. I'll let you get on with your day. Snapping your fingers. What does success look like in the fall? This is recorded, and I'm going to make a clip of it. I'm going to post it everywhere on a dartboard at Mount Union somewhere. But
no, I'm probably going right back to the same answer of getting to the top 4 of the NCAC. And not because we didn't do it last year. I just think it's going to be that hard, and I think that is the first step this group needs to take in order to start thinking about bigger things beyond that. So for me, I think that goal stays the same, at least in this moment and how I feel today. I would tell you that's the answer.
Yeah. All right. Coach, as always, I love talking to you. This is fantastic. Always so much fun. Do appreciate you taking the time. Wish you the best in the fall, or the spring especially, right? You guys covered in snow still?
We got smashed this year. These last 2 winters, holy moly. I don't know what's going on.
I've been, some friends' pictures, so I'm just kind of like, I'm glad I am not there. I thought it's bad here, but you guys really
and there's more coming this weekend, I
guess.
Yeah,
I heard.
So, yeah.
I heard in the next 3 days or something close, at some point. So get your snowblower ready.
That's
but
right.
Anyhow, thank you very much. As always, do appreciate taking the time.
Thank you. Take care.